Hello and welcome to Encore, coming up in today's show. It's the return of an English band with a French touch. Metronomy are back with their fifth record, Old Skool, and they've called on a hip-hop pioneer to drop a beat. And her heart will go on. Celine Dion takes to the stage in Paris for the first time since her husband's death, and she wows fans with the power of love. Plus Quincy Jones, John Legend, and Alabama Shakes. Those are just a few of the artists who've graced the stage at Montreux Jazz Festival in the past, and now it celebrates 50 years of artistic blends and collaborations. I'm Molly Hall in Paris, and I'm joined by France 34's music critic, Mark Thompson. Always good to have you with us, Mark. And we are going to get started with this week's big album releases. And the British indie group Metronomy are back with their fifth record. Let's take a listen to Old Skool.
Keep your friends, I'll keep my friends. Have a party and go west end. Make some money, make more money with your new friends. Throw a party. I've got silver and signet ring for night climbing and fine dining. I love sex and I love dancing and reclining in your backseat. You keep your friends, I'll keep my friends.
All right, well, Mark, then that'll listen to Old Skool there. Now, I understand that they recruited a Beastie Boy to help them out with this song. Now, it could sound like a bit of an odd mix, but is it? How did it work?
It works because that sounds more like Metronomy than the Beastie Boys. If it sounded like Metronomy doing the Beastie Boys, I think we'd have a whole different discussion on our hands. I think what it does, though, is they brought in Mixmaster Mike from the Beastie Boys, and he's allowed them to be a bit more funkier and a bit more lively. They still have the same kind of undertones of sarcasm and just awkwardness, I think, which is something they really are experts in creating. Now, this record is seen as a sister record to their second album, Nights Out, which was released in summer '08, which is why this album has that title. They actually recorded, you say they had a French touch, that's because they're signed to a French label, and they have a big following here in Paris, and they actually wrote and recorded part of it in Paris, and part of it in a very small village in the northwest of France. I don't really get the French touch throughout the music, but it is interesting to see how popular they are over here. I think one of the things that is also impressive is the star names they can bring here. So they've got Mixmaster Mike, who's had a cameo, but also Robin from Sweden, the Swedish singer. She's also making a cameo on this record.
Well, I understand then that they've decided actually not to tour this album. What was the reason behind this decision?
Well, this project, Metronomy, is generally Joseph Mount's album. They're considered a band, but he's the lead singer. He calls all the shots. He makes all the decisions. And he's recently become a father, and I think that's a big part of it. It's impressive that he's managed to convince his record label that this is a sensible decision, since a lot of bands are making most of their money at the moment from touring, from selling merchandise. But he's basically told them, if you don't let me do this, then it means that I can create more. I can make more albums, I can make them faster, and I can make them better.
All right, well, let's switch now from one album then that had the help of a hip-hop legend to another made by a legend. That, of course, is Snoop Dogg. He is back with his 14th record. It's Coolaid. What do you think?
Yeah, in this occasion, don't drink the Kool-Aid. It's fine.
Okay.
Just stay clear of it. He's become increasingly something of a joke. I hate to say that.
That's a strong word.
It's a really strong word, but for serious hip-hop fans, everyone loves his work in the early 90s, mid-90s, but he's become a cliche, and it's everything in this video. He's rapping about his love of weed, marijuana, he's loving this car that he's with, and he's put himself next to Wiz Khalifa, whose stock couldn't be higher right now, and I think he's counting on that. This is something we've seen him do in the past with Pharrell. Try and team him up with someone who is very cool, very relevant, when actually what Snoop Dogg is doing is very irrelevant. There's nothing new, there's nothing interesting about what he's saying. I think that's a big problem.
It is pretty much kind of the same message we've heard from the beginning.
This is, and it's I'm rich, I like my drugs, and I like my women, I like my cars. It gets a bit boring. He is going on tour with Wiz Khalifa later this month, so it will be a sellout tour. He still has a lot of popularity, still has a lot of credence. I just think that yeah, I can't take him as a credible artist anymore. It's a real shame.
All right, well, we're going to move now to a French band that's releasing then their first studio album. Mark, now you've had your eye on these guys for quite some time now.
Yeah, I was first told about them about 4 years ago from a friend who actually worked on this record and has played with them for a number of years. And they always do that thing of saying, oh, watch out for my friends, they're going to do really well. And I hear that every month. And this time, I think there may be something to it. Let's have a listen to Papoose.
And wants to dance. I do recall her freckled face glowing down the hall between our legs. A waterfall. And wants to yell she can only moan for it. For it. For it.
It's a very cool, light, summery album and single as well. That features French artist and French actress Soko, which shows just how much popularity they're gaining very early on in their career. They're two friends who are based here in Paris, and when I first saw them, they were actually covering a lot of old Beatles songs, and it was a very sweet little thing that they were doing. But they're nothing like the Beatles right now, but they have a very similar technique in terms of whoever writes the song also sings it, and that allows the album to be a bit more creative, a couple of different sounds. We actually even have the girlfriend of one of the artists singing and writing a song at the end, just as a bit of a cameo. At the moment, it is just that. It's a bit of a quirky album. It's not quite there, but there's enough for me to feel they have some potential to go a bit further.
All right, excellent. Well, from Papoose to here in Paris, we've got Celine Dion, who's playing a series of shows at Paris's Accor Hotels Arena. That's also, of course, formerly Bercy Arena. Now, Mark, it certainly is an emotional time for the Canadian superstar.
Yeah, it's been a devastating year for her. She lost her husband and manager, Renee, in January. Just 3 days later, her brother died as well. She was very brave. She took to the stage in Las Vegas quite soon after that, but she did break down on stage. I felt like that was a brave and bold move on her part, but I think that did come too soon. She says she's ready now, though, and she wants to play live, and the initial reviews are that she is capable and she's doing a great show. She's playing a total of 6 dates over these 2 weeks, and it's part of a mini tour ahead of a French language album that's coming out later this year.
Okay. Well, later on this summer, we've got this July, the Montreux Jazz Festival is celebrating 50 years, and from Tony Bennett to John Legend, Alabama Shakes to Mary J. Blige, the Swiss affair brings musicians of all genres together with a unique blend of artistic encounters and collaborations. Now, we've got our Josh Vardy, who takes us to meet one of the performing artists. It's eclectic pianist Alfredo Rodriguez.
He comes from Cuba, but his music travels much further. Pianist Alfredo Rodriguez now brings his nomadic art to Europe, taking a moment to visit this exhibition of modern Chinese art in Paris. Rodriguez loves to immerse himself in creativity in all its forms and says that everyone should follow their muse wherever that might lead.
We all have something special to say, and I guess we should fight in order to find out what it is, and for me it's making music.
When he was discovered at the tender age of 20 by legendary producer Quincy Jones, Alfredo Rodriguez left his homeland and family and moved to the US. Since then, he's been traveling the world, soaking up influences and sharing his talent.
I decided to name the album Tocororo because it's the national bird of Cuba, and it's one of those animals that if caged dies, and I feel like that is a metaphor for music in general. We put borders between each other, and we say, I'm from Cuba, you are from France, and he's from the United States. So it happens with music styles, that we sometimes say, no, you are a jazz composer, you are a classical pianist, you are a Cuban musician. And I feel like music is just music, you know, and we should learn from each other. And that is the relation that I want my country to have with the whole world.
For his third album, Alfredo Rodriguez has surrounded himself with musicians from India, Northern Africa, and Cameroon. It's a heady mix of influences and styles, but through it all, his singular style and infectious enthusiasm shines out.
That then a look at pianist Alfredo Rodriguez. Of course, the Montreux Festival runs from July 1st to the 16th, and legendary music producer who we saw there in that report, Quincy Jones, he'll be hosting a special evening to celebrate the festival's 50th year. All right, well, Mark, finally, we're going to wrap up now with a new track. What do you got for us?
Yes, this is a track that I actually heard from the Tom Hiddleston film High Rise earlier this year, and I've been looking for it everywhere since. Been on SoundCloud, I've been on Spotify, been on YouTube, and there's just been nowhere to be found. But Portishead have covered ABBA's SOS, and it sounds like a really odd mix to begin with, but as soon as you hear it, they've done such a delicate and such a great job of covering it. It's their first track in 6 years as well, and it came from nowhere. No one was really expecting it. And then because they have this animosity towards social media and their real reluctance to put things on streaming services, they've made an exception here because they wanted to make a tribute to Joe Cox, the British MP who was killed ahead of the UK's EU referendum last week.
All right, indeed. All right. Well, Mark, thank you very much for a look at that. And thank you all for joining us. Remember, you can always find us at our website. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. We'll leave you now with Portishead's latest clip. That's SOS. You're watching France 24.